Hey guys, I just wanted to say thank you for using my creator code whenever you purchase any Sims 4 DLC on the EA app or thesims.com. I receive a 5% commission each time you use my code, which means you're directly supporting me as a creator. I know there are a lot of codes floating around out there, so I am very grateful that you've chosen me to support in this way. Thank you so much. Hey guys, it is MissSimReno. If you are returning to the channel, welcome back. And if you're brand new, I am very excited that you decided to join me here today for another speed build. And we are back in Mount Como. I am just, at the time of me recording this, which I will go ahead and put that disclaimer out there, this is a pre-recorded build because as some of you already know, but some of you may not know, I am currently on maternity leave. So that means that I have had my baby and this pre-recorded build is going up for you all to enjoy while I bond with them and get acclimated to motherhood. But so at the time of recording this, I am absolutely obsessed with building in Mount Como all of a sudden. I did a build. I want to say it was posted before this one. I really have to check my scheduling order. I think it was posted before this one, but I did like a little kind of like townhouse. I put that in little air quotes in Mount Como, but it was more of the, I guess we'll call it, it's not really like the city center, but it's not out in the countryside, again in air quotes, kind of like this house is. And I was really inspired by this image that I found on Pinterest. It's generally speaking, nothing special. Like a lot of these details that I add, specifically what I'm doing to all of the roof lines right now, I'm going to be using Tool to actually shift all of these things so I can add some more like roof details. But yeah, it wasn't really anything special. It was just a bigger scale Japanese looking home. And I really wanted to make something that was a little bit bigger because after I did the townhome, and I think that's the only other thing I've done in Mount Como thus far. I was playing around with some other ideas, but they were all pretty small scale. So I wanted to do something big. And that is what I ended up doing here. But I will say it's a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a little bit deceiving, actually, because this home is pretty big, but it's only a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, I want to say. It does not accommodate a lot of Sims. I made this for a family of 3. You could, of course, do a family of 4 or even 5. Like I'm thinking in the kids' room, you could do bunk beds. You could do as many beds as you want, honestly. You could have like an infant with the parents, stuff like that. But I made it for a family of 3, and the house is deceivingly big for such a small family. And it's such a small family on such a huge lot as well. And when I say huge, I think this is what, a 40 by 30, something like that. It was a big lot to fill, hence why I wanted to build something a bit bigger. Anyway, I did a little bit of, not landscaping, but terrain manipulation off camera as well, because something I realized, so I wanted this to be more so in quote unquote the countryside, right? And granted, I didn't make it a farm or anything like that, but I did notice in some inspo pics and in my very minor research, I say minor, I emphasize that. I did not go heavy with my research this time around, just because I'm familiar with some of the general like architectural details, if you will, that I include at least on interiors. But anyway, for the exterior, these kind of like canals, because if you needed to bring water to like a rice field or something like that, you would have this like, you would have like little canals. Perhaps like, I don't know if it would be surrounding a property, but it would definitely be near where those crops were. And even though I didn't make this farm, as I mentioned, I thought it was kind of a unique, fun detail. So definitely let me know what you think, but I added it basically in the front of the home here. There's like a lot of detail in the front. I can't even lie. And I had a lot of fun with the landscaping. I made it, I think, a bit more overgrown than I was originally planning on, but I love how it turned out. I even added some, would they be considered stems of bamboo? They're bamboo trees, right? But they look like stems because I made them very small, very tiny bamboo trees. And I tried to use, I'm not going to say a lot of color, but I did try to add, of course, pops of color as well, instead of making everything just super green. So I added some yellow flowers, of course. And we have the, are those the Japanese maple trees? Is that what those are? I feel like I'm batting 1,000 right now. I feel like I do not know what I'm talking about, and I was going in really confident, and now I'm like, but am I actually? I don't know. But anyway, I'm fencing in the front here, and then I just used this debug item to kind of make I'll say a grander entrance. And I also added one over here to the side yard because the house did actually take up a fair amount of space, but I did have some yard space to play around with, which was really nice, especially since I had a kiddo in this family that I was envisioning. But I also used these stones. I don't remember if they're actually debug stones or not, or if I think they're debug stones. I was thinking of the stone rug from Get Together, I think. Yeah, I think these are debug stones. At the time of me recording this as well, Better Build Buy was not yet broken. I say that because we did, of course, have the patch for the new expansion of businesses and hobbies. And at the time of me recording this, it's currently still not updated. That is not a complaint in any capacity. I feel like I always have to clarify that. But I'm just trying to figure out how I knew it was debug. I think it was debug because I had the Better Build Buy in my game at the time. That's unimportant. I don't know why I went into those details. Anyway, we're adding more details to the house here. I'm also using Tool to kind of change the leveling of windows and details and stuff like that because I just love Tool Mod so much. I'm so glad I know how to use it, at least in some of its basic functions, because it helps so much with very small tweaks. I just love that mod so much. Like, modders are just amazing. Can we just take a pause? Take a pause. Modders are amazing. Anyway, we're on to the inside of this build. And like I said, it's deceivingly, I'll say small, right? For a small family, there's a lot of space here, but it was so wild because on the first floor, just with the way that I laid things out, because I wanted these kind of like bigger entryways, these archways, and just the doors and everything. I just wanted it to be very open. And by doing that, and trying to use platforms, by the way, because I did use platforms throughout this build, it was very challenging to divvy up the floor plan. It took me, I want to say, like a couple of hours to figure out this floor plan. This was probably my 5th or 6th go around. The second floor, well, that was no problem because it was basically the size of a small apartment. But the first floor was really, really difficult to kind of figure out. And I was also having a lot of trouble with the platform and the stilt foundation in that kind of like more sunroom that I had down here. It would not let me sink the foundation down with a platform. Or I'm sorry, it wouldn't let me sink the platform down with the stilt foundation. It would just get rid of the stilt foundation. It was very odd. I also made an effort to ensure that I added tatami mats throughout this build as well. Now, in, again, my very minimal research before this, tatami mats are typically in just quote-unquote washitsu? I probably pronounced that incorrectly, so forgive me, but that translates to Japanese-style room, which is very, very vague. But typically these would be in rooms where, one would sleep, if one would sit or meditate, tea ceremonies, things like that. So I did add the tatami mats in the living room, as well as the bedrooms, and then that little kind of like sunroom, because there is a kotatsu in there. And I saw that as more of kind of like a meditation space, more of a casual space. Maybe that's typically where they'll have tea ceremonies or things like that. There's also a couple of hobby items out there, but I didn't add tatami mats here in the primary dining space. So I don't know, I made a couple of decisions just based off of my research, but definitely let me know if I'm a little bit off or if it can kind of vary. But as you can see, we did jump around a bit. I got very, very stuck when I was trying to do that main dining space, which is odd, because it ends up being literally a kotatsu and like a couple of details. But I wanted to sort out the living room because I knew I wanted to have a platformed space for the fireplace. And I also wanted things to be a little bit lower to the ground in regards to like the television and stuff. So I used cabinets to make it look like they were a little bit more built into the wall. I don't know, it seemed like more of an authentic detail, though I will say in a lot of the inspo pictures that I've collected over the years since Snowy Escape came out, I don't see a lot of couches, like true couches in traditional Japanese homes. You'll have the kotatsu tables, or you'll have like cushions and things like that to sit on. So actually adding a couch here and the armchair felt a little bit odd to me, but I wanted to use it just because it did, I mean, for the purposes of The Sims, I didn't want to put a kotatsu in every single room that The Sims would be sitting in because we don't have just like a floor cushion for them to sit on. We have meditation stools and meditation cushions, right? So I was trying to work with The Sims, trying to work with a level of authenticity as well. But I absolutely loved the tatami mats in here. I loved how simple the living room was. And I loved using, like I said, those cabinets that are actually at floor level to add the television and some more little details and things like that. I thought it was very simple, but it also had a lot of character, and I don't know, it was very cozy. This build, that's something else with this build. It's not very cluttered at all. I think the kitchen, as per usual, is probably one of the most cluttered spaces, as well as like the kids' room. But generally speaking, the primary living spaces are not that cluttered. And as you can see here in this primary dining space, we've got a little tea set here. We have a plant, a little corner shelf. Like there's not much going on. I think for me, when I build a Mount Como and try to do a more like authentic Japanese style, especially with interior design or architecture design, etc., I noticed that a lot of especially this wood texture, this swatch of the wood that I used throughout, and the paneling and whatnot that I used on the interior, it adds so much detail in and of itself that I don't feel the need to cover all the wall spaces. Which is odd for me. I've said it before, I love covering walls. If there's an open wall space, your girl wants to put like a sconce, a plant, or a piece of artwork there, okay? But in these builds, I just don't feel the need to do that. So it's kind of refreshing for me. It's cleansing. I love it. I also added a little closet here in the genkin, which is basically the entryway where you would go ahead and take off your shoes and whatnot. It is a closet. There are clothes hanging in that closet that your Sims can technically use. And I also put the sign to take off your shoes right in this genkin as well. So I put like the little shoe racks and a mirror and stuff. However, I don't like when you have the walls half up, you can't see any of the clothes in the closet, which was kind of annoying to me. So it might not be super usable, generally speaking, in gameplay, but like the functionality is actually there. I also added a record player in the living space, as you can see. And then this space here, it was really awkward. I wasn't happy with this space because it just served no purpose. And it was so big and open. Basically, I have these open archways. So from the dining space, this is essentially a hallway. Up on the platform is going to be the kitchen. And then through that archway, that open door is going to be kind of the more so like 3-season porch, if you will, the sunroom area. So I didn't really know how to decorate this space. Like I got a plant, I got a shelf, and another shelf. I got the like tea shelf and whatnot. And I didn't know what else to do with it. I didn't know. I was like, I could put another kotatsu. And I was like, wait a minute, that would look ridiculous because I've got the dining table right there, the primary dining space with the kotatsu literally right there. It would be so weird to have two of them lined up like that in view. I just did not like that idea at all. So I just moved on to the kitchen. I'm like, all right, let's at least sort that out before I get too frustrated because this build was hard. This build was actually really challenging for me. I did use at the time of you seeing this, they're not new anymore, but we'll say the new base game countertops and cabinets that we got in this kind of like darker wood swatch with the black marble. I thought it was so pretty and it fit with this build because this build had, I want to say kind of like a flare of sophistication compared to the townhouse that I posted. That was a little bit more rustic, maybe laid back. I don't know if laid back is really the word, or the term, but whatever. So this had a little bit more of a flare of sophistication to it, even though there are rustic elements. And then I just added a plain 4-seater dining table here. I was trying the little 4-seater kotatsu, but I put that out in the sunroom space. So I didn't want to have two of those as well. It just seemed silly. So I added just a 4-seater dining space as well. And then I went nuts and I decorated and cluttered up the kitchen. We do have the pressure cooker or rice cooker from For Rent, which I thought was great. I think I add a hot pot to the kotatsu out in that little sunroom. So we do have the hot pot, which you can move around. And outside of that, I don't think I added any other smaller appliances that you can really kind of move around or put in your Sims inventory. I don't believe I did. But you could, of course, add whatever appliances you so wish. That's the best part about downloading builds from the gallery is you can go ahead and customize them to your heart's desire. But yeah, we're just cluttering up this kitchen. There is a lot kind of going on. Oh, I did add the Tea Magic brewer as well. So they have more of like an electric automatic tea brewer instead of just the traditional teapot as well. I stand corrected. I may have also added an electric kettle. I may have done that. I'm not sure if I did. At the time of me doing this voiceover, because I don't want to sound too repetitive, time me recording this, at the time of me doing this voiceover, I think this build is a little over a week or two old as well. So I'm trying to remember all of the details that I added in this build. And I was just very indecisive doing the entire thing. So I'm realizing that I actually don't know what's coming as I'm watching this. But now we're working on the bathroom downstairs as well. So to try to keep in with the traditional Japanese approach as well with bathrooms, I did separate the toilet and the showering space. I should have looked up if you typically enter into where the toilet is or if you enter where there's like a shower or bathtub. I don't remember now, so forgive me if I mix that up. I don't know why. I typically do that. I put the shower and or tub as the entry point, and then I put the toilet in like that second room. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I did here. So we do have the shower tub combos from Growing Together. And then in this toilet room, because it was so big, I've obviously got the sink, but then I also added a washer and a vacuum. So kind of made it a little bit of a quasi laundry space. And in traditional Japanese homes, which I think I mentioned in the townhouse build as well, they don't often have dryers from what I looked up. So there is a clothesline out back in this build to actually dry all of your Sims clothes, but we do have a washer. And now this is going to be the sunroom. I do have, again, the kotatsu out here with the hot pot. I added a ton of plants because I just thought it was perfect. We've got a meditation stool out here. And then I also added the easel from the Artist Studio kit. So this would be a great place. Maybe one of the parents really just enjoys painting. I don't know if it's their job or anything, but it is absolutely like their zen, like literally just their zen. So they come out here when the weather is beautiful with the door open like that. They let the breeze in and they just paint and listen to music, maybe while the other one is meditating or something. You know, it just seems like a very peaceful place to be. I also added a couple of candles and things, as well as, like I said, a ton of plants. And that's where the speaker is. I forgot I did that. I've actually been using that speaker far more than I anticipated. I've used it twice, which is more than I ever anticipated using it. It's from the Party Essentials kit. It's like a very tiny wall speaker, and I added it right above the doorway, which I thought was perfect. And now down here, this is technically off of the living room. And at first I was going to try to make it the parents' room. And then I was like, wait, no, I think it would make more sense to put the parents upstairs and have the kid downstairs. I don't know, maybe you would feel differently. You could, of course, again, make any changes that you would like. But that's why I started with a double bed. And then I was like, no, we're going to make this the kids' room. And I did struggle with it. I struggled with it so much. Oh, and actually, back to the tatami mats. I'm sorry, I'm like so scatterbrained today. Back to the tatami mats, I tried my best to replicate the appropriate patterns as I was putting those mats down because there is a particular way to lay them out. Definitely let me know if I was at least close. I know we might not be able to do it exactly in The Sims as well, but let me know if I was close because I did pay attention to that as well. Anyway, okay, so I did find the kids' room challenging. I was like, what the heck color scheme do I go for? Do I keep trying to use the Snowy Escape items? Because that was really my focus. I'm like, let me use as many as the Snowy Escape items as I can to make this as authentic and cohesive as I possibly can. Or do I go and do something else and kind of just go nuts because it's a kid's room, right? And I did go a little bit nuts. It's a kid's room. But I did use this bed from Snowy Escape, and then I used one of these decals as well. So maybe this kid really wants to rock climb. Maybe they do it already. I know kids technically can't do it in The Sims, which is kind of a bummer in my opinion. I get it. You don't want them scaling those giant walls all the way up to Mount Como, but I don't believe they can use like the rock climbing wall from the fitness stuff pack, for example. I don't think they can really partake in quote unquote fitness, right? It's the motor skill. Anyway, okay, I'm going on a tangent. Maybe the kid already does a little bit of rock climbing. Like maybe one of their parents is really into it and they are so for it as well. Like they're really excited to learn. So their parent is starting to get them like gear and teaching them some of the basics, and their goal is to climb Mount Como. Like maybe that parent that's teaching them everything that they know hasn't done it either. And perhaps maybe they're even close to pre-teenhood. I'm trying to come up with a storyline here, but maybe their goal is at some point in the future, years down the line, like they want to climb Mount Como together, and it would be such a nice bonding experience for them. And you know, you have to kind of train now. You got to get the basics in, you got to get comfortable, you have to be familiar with the gear, all that stuff. It takes a long time to prep. So this kid is just like super, super into it. I thought that was a really fun idea. I liked that so much because to me, it seemed like more of a touristy element of Snowy Escape, right? Like the skiing and snowboarding and stuff like that. But I liked being able to use some of those items and tie them in a little bit more with like a quote unquote more traditional build as well. But they've got a creativity table. Since we do have laundry, I added a hamper. I remembered. I also think they're a little bit into science. You know, kids have a range of interests, so I thought it was fun to kind of explore that a little bit. I also decorated this little bookshelf with just a bunch of other little details. They've got like marbles on their desk. We have a little finished robotics school project. We've got the little journal, we have a little speaker, the little space heater on the floor, which, be careful, those light on fire really, really easily in sim houses, which is terrifying to me. I barely use them in builds themselves, like actively in gameplay. Be cautious of those if you're unaware. Now, this is going to be the parents' room upstairs. So again, it really is just the parents' room and then a bathroom upstairs. And the bathrooms in this build are such a decent size, again, because I was able to separate those rooms, which was nice, and because it was deceivingly small inside when I figured out the floor plan. But the parents' room is very plainly decorated. It's very simple, in my opinion, very zen, very calming. I love all the dark woods. We've got a couple of plants. We've got a dresser. I also used that, I think it's a room divider. There's a specific name for it that I just can't remember right now, but I refer to it as a room divider. I didn't use it to actually really divide up the room in any capacity. I just thought it was kind of a nice detail to add to the bedroom. And I don't think I've ever used that one. It's specifically from Snowy Escape. And then here upstairs for the parents' bathroom, I just gave them the tub. I wanted them to have like a nice soaking tub, as well as the toilet and sink, of course. So I didn't add a shower up here. They just primarily take baths if they use that bathroom. They don't have a choice. But at least they have the shower tub combo downstairs as well. And the shower tub combo downstairs leaves you all flexibility. If you have a different family dynamic in mind that includes like infants or toddlers, or even a pet, you at least already have the bathtub. And then I also added the chess table up here on the landing area because I didn't know what else to add, as well as a full-length mirror, another plant, and just some artwork and stuff like that. Oh, and you know what else I add downstairs? I don't even know if I do it on camera. I remember to add the bonsai tree from base game. Yes, I did. And then we also have the clothesline, like I said, out here in the back with a little bit more privacy. You know, you don't want your delicates hanging out for everybody to check them out while they're drying. Not ideal. Did I really just call them delicates? For the love of God. Anyway, and then we also carry the landscaping through to the back too, because I thought that would be, I just wanted it to be really full and lush and beautiful. It just seems so calming in this yard space. I love it very much. And the yard actually, it has a handful of activities, but it doesn't have a lot. I think I had a swing set for the kiddo. I want to say there's some gardening boxes. Oh, and I think there's a chicken coop. So we got a little touch of farm out here. Not a ton, but we got a little touch of farm life out here. I wanted to do like a cow or a llama or something like that, but honestly, after how big this build was and all the detail I put in, I didn't want to do the custom barn trick that I've done before by Sadie Sims, so I just didn't do it. But anyway, we are almost at the end of this build, so I hope you all enjoyed this one. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts, and I will catch you next time I post a video, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!